we thought we could review for this book, Predictive Analytics. I'm going to give this book 3 out of 5. So there was interesting parts of the book about prediction, how it works, models, decision trees, about Watson, which is the IBM intelligence, artificial intelligence, AI. But overall, I felt like there wasn't enough information. In some places, he went too deep into some parts, which were not very interesting. For example, in Watson, there was like could be a third of the book is only about Watson. So I came into this thinking it's going to be more wide. Wasn't as wide, but there is some interesting information, especially if you're interested in this area of prediction and analytics in both of them. So it's a mixed bag. Let's see the notes. Prediction is being used in hospitals, universities, and banking, and many other industries. So, all those industries they use prediction in various ways in order to increase sales or retain customers and things like that. In order to test a model, they apply it on historical data to see if it outperforms. That's how you train a model. You have a model, you apply it to historical data, see if it makes a difference versus different models. In order to predict pregnancies, Target used their registered babies customers to train the model. So what they did, they took the registered babies list. So this is theoretically those who have babies. They checked what they're buying, and this is how the model was trained. Police use prediction to predict where crime is more likely to happen and then sending more patrols to that area. So that's how they use prediction. They're just sending more cars to those areas that probably has been proven to be crime infested. Fraud detection also uses predictive analytics to predict fraudulent behavior, where it comes from, types of transfers and things like that also being used for fraud detection. Or data is the new oil. Everyone wants data, and that becomes the new oil. If you buy diapers, you're more likely to buy beer. Just an interesting statistic. They found that if you buy diapers, you're more likely to buy beer. I think it's something about dads doing it or something. I forget the reasoning, but it's just interesting. Orange used cars, thought to be more reliable, only to discover that researchers checked too many possibilities and were fooled by randomness. So at first they thought that orange cars are more reliable because there is less maintenance needed and things like that. But what happened was, and obviously before that they had all kinds of hypotheses about why it happened. For example, one of them was that whoever buys an orange car is probably care more about the car and is more likely to take good care of it. But what they found out is that they just checked too many variables, too many possibilities, and when you check too many possibilities, you would find something, and they simply got fooled by randomness, which is what happens when you just check too many things, and you're going to find some correlation that has nothing to do with actual data. It just happened to be in your data. It's a fluke. By randomness, some investors would be able to use the same result as Buffett, just by randomness. Some would be as good as Buffett, but it's not actual success. Adding too many rows of relationships could cause the problem of a vast search and be fooled by randomness. Similar thing of what happened with the orange car. If you have too many rows, too many possibilities, you're going to be fooled by randomness because you're going to find some relationship that is seen as statistically significant. Insurance is simply risk management and distribution. That's what it's all about. Also prediction, obviously, but it's risk management and then distributing that risk among all participants. Mistakes are needed to train the model. You have to have mistakes in order to fully and accurately train the model. Decision trees are ineffective learning models. That's how they use many times they use decision trees to teach the model. If A, then, and if B, then. When having too many decisions in the decision tree, it makes the data only true to that particular event. So it keep repeating itself here, but it's important. That's what happens when there is too many options, too many variables. It makes it only true to one particular event, and it cannot be generalizable. Deduction is more straightforward than induction. That's the main difference between deduction to induction. Deduction is more straightforward and is less of a leap. And sample groups of models is usually superior. When you have an ensemble of models, is usually better. That's what they have in the Netflix competition. They eventually used an ensemble of model that has won the competition. Computational linguistics is a hard task since context changes the structure of the sentence. That's why they have a hard time with computational linguistics, because it changes. Sentence could be read very differently dependent on the context. And the meaning of it would change as well. As one said, intelligence is what machines cannot do. That's a good quote. To answer Jeopardy questions, Watson assigned probability value to the most probable questions or answers. So that's how the AI Watson of IBM played Jeopardy. It just assigned probability values to the most probable answer, and the highest score has been delivered. Watson was named after its creator, not the Sherlock Holmes character. They know that. I actually thought it's the other way around. But apparently, its creator was named Watson. Companies use prediction to predict which customers are likely to leave and send them promotions to retain them. That's also how they use prediction. They see who's more likely to leave the company. For example, those who their friends left, and they sent promotion to those customers in an attempt to retain them. No one steps in the same river twice. It's not the same river. It appears as the same river, but it's not the same river. What is it refers to? I cannot remember, but I like it. Since causality is very hard to pinpoint, influence is hard to predict. So what influenced a customer, for example, is really hard to pinpoint, because you have to understand causality to understand what influenced, and it's hard. Marketing sometimes simply shows people who would buy even without it. Control group must be used in order to know. So if you don't use control groups, what happens is that many times you're just gonna advertise to people who would already buy, even without the advertisement, things like that. So you have to have control groups in order to see what works and what doesn't. The last one, micro-targeting was influential in elections. They used micro-targeting, which is more personalized ads in a way, and that's how they influence. I think it's the 2016 or the one before. I can't remember which elections. I think it was the 2016 election. That's what they used, and it was influential. So that's for the notes. Okay, there is some interesting parts, but I didn't feel like I'm learning so much new information. So that's why it's a 3 out of 5. Thank you.